Title: The Song of the Starborn. Greetings, Starseekers. Let me share with you a tale whispered among the celestial winds, one of longing, courage, and the extraordinary bond between light and shadow. Listen closely, for within these words lie echoes of the universe itself. Part 1: The Call of the Stars. In a small village nestled at the base of the Mistvale Mountains, where the rivers glistened with stardust under the moonlight, lived a girl named Lyra. From the moment she was born, the elders whispered that she carried the mark of the Starborn, a faint constellation etched on her wrist that shimmered faintly in darkness. Lyra was an ordinary girl in most ways. She helped her father in the fields, played with her younger brother, and often wandered the forest edge, where she collected wildflowers and whispered dreams to the sky. But when the stars appeared at night, something deep inside her stirred, a longing she couldn't explain. The villagers often warned her, "Don't stray too far after dark. The shadows watch, and the whispering star will call those who don't belong." The whispering star was a legend passed through generations, a star that called to the restless, drawing them into the void where no light returned. Lyra never believed in such tales, but she couldn't deny the pull she felt when gazing at the heavens. One fateful evening, while the village celebrated the Moonlight Festival, Lyra slipped away to the forest edge. The air hummed with an unfamiliar vibration, and a faint light appeared between the trees. As she stepped closer, she saw a crystal-like orb hovering above a patch of wildflowers. It pulsed gently, radiating warmth and curiosity as though it were alive. "Who are you?" she whispered, reaching out instinctively. The orb blinked in response, emitting a soft chime that resonated in her chest. Words not her own filled her mind. "Lyra of the Starborn, the time has come. The whispering star seeks you. Will you answer?" Part 2: The Journey Begins. Lyra hesitated, her heart pounding. "The whispering star? That's just a story," she murmured. The orb shimmered brighter, its light dancing across the trees. "Stories are truths told in disguise. Follow me, and you will find your truth." Drawn by a force she couldn't resist, Lyra followed the orb deeper into the forest. The world around her seemed to shift. The trees stretched taller, the air thickened with energy, and the familiar paths disappeared. After hours of walking, they emerged into a clearing where the ground sparkled with starlight, and a massive archway carved from crystal stood at the center. The orb floated to the arch, its light forming symbols that glowed faintly. "Step through, Lyra. The stars await." Lyra took a deep breath and stepped forward. The moment her foot crossed the threshold, the world shattered into light. She felt weightless, as if drifting through an endless sea of stars. Images flashed before her: a great city made of glowing crystals, a council of beings who radiated light and wisdom, and a dark, looming shadow that consumed the stars one by one. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer in the forest. Instead, she stood in a vast expanse of white stone, surrounded by towering spires that hummed with energy. The sky above was not the blue she knew, but an endless cascade of shifting galaxies. A figure approached, a woman draped in flowing robes that shimmered like liquid silver. Her eyes glowed softly, and her voice was both warm and commanding. "Welcome, Starborn. You have been chosen to protect the light of the universe. But first you must understand the shadows you will face." Part 3: The Test of Light and Shadow. The woman introduced herself as Elindra, keeper of the Starborn. She explained that the universe was in balance, a delicate dance between light and shadow. But the whispering star, a once guiding force, had been corrupted by the void, a force of chaos that sought to unmake the universe. Lyra, as the bearer of the Starborn mark, was destined to restore its purpose. But I'm just a girl, Lyra protested. I don't know how to fight shadows. Elindra smiled gently. Every Starborn begins as you do, doubting their light. The strength you seek is already within you. Lyra's first test came swiftly. Elindra led her to a chamber filled with mirrors, each reflecting a version of herself, some younger, some older, and some that weren't her at all. From one mirror, a shadowy figure stepped forward, its form shifting like smoke. Do you fear me? It hissed, its voice echoing in her mind. Lyra clenched her fists. You're just a shadow. You have no power over me. The shadow laughed, growing larger. I am your doubt, your anger, your fear. Face me, or I will consume you. Lyra closed her eyes, remembering Elindra's words. She focused on the light inside her, the warmth that had always stirred when she gazed at the stars. Slowly the light grew, radiating outward until it enveloped her. The shadow shrieked and dissolved into the air. When Lyra opened her eyes, the mirrors had vanished, and Elindra stood before her, smiling. You have taken your first step, Starborn. The journey ahead will not be easy, but the light within you will guide the way. Amara's voice deepened with intensity, as if she were drawing the listener closer into the unfolding tale. And so, Lyra stepped further into the unknown, unaware that her greatest trials and allies awaited her among the stars. Part 4. Allies among the stars. The next challenge came as Elindra led Lyra to the Gateway of Worlds, a massive celestial bridge suspended in the void. The structure shimmered like liquid silver, branching out into countless glowing pathways. As Lyra approached, the orb she'd followed in the forest reappeared, pulsing with energy. The Starborn do not walk this path alone, Elindra said, gesturing toward the gateway. The journey is dangerous, but allies will emerge if you trust your light. The orb vibrated, and to Lyra's surprise, a figure stepped from the pathway ahead. He was tall, with broad shoulders and an air of confidence. His armor gleamed faintly, etched with constellations, and a sword rested at his side. Name's Kyle, he said, his voice steady but carrying a playful edge. I've been waiting for another Starborn to show up. Figured the universe wouldn't throw me into this mess alone forever. Kyle was bold, almost brash, but his bravery was infectious. As they ventured together through the celestial pathways, Kyle shared stories of his battles against the void, how he'd survived by trusting his instincts and learning to wield the light. The void preys on hesitation, he told Lyra. You gotta strike before it takes root. No second guessing. Despite his confidence, Kyle's actions revealed a deeper layer of vulnerability. His determination to protect others at any cost, even if it meant putting himself in danger. Lyra found herself both inspired by and wary of his approach, realizing that light wasn't just about power, it was also about wisdom. Part 5. The Whispering Star. Their journey brought them to the heart of the conflict, the Whispering Star itself. It loomed in the distance, a once brilliant celestial body now consumed by swirling shadows. From its core, tendrils of darkness spread outward, pulling stars into the void. As they approached, the orb that had guided Lyra transformed, growing larger and taking on a humanoid shape. Its voice became clear and resonant. The Whispering Star was meant to guide lost travelers. Now it consumes them. Your light can restore it, but only if you face the void within yourself. Kyle gripped his sword tightly. Sounds like a fight to me. But Lyra hesitated, sensing that brute force alone wouldn't be enough. The whispering star pulsed with dark energy, sending waves of fear and doubt through the air. Lyra felt her knees weaken, her mind clouding with voices. You're not strong enough. You don't belong here. Turn back. Ignore it, Kael shouted, stepping forward. It's just trying to break you. But Lyra realized that the voices weren't just trying to break her, they were reflecting her own insecurities. Closing her eyes, she steadied her breath and focused on the light within. This time, instead of pushing the doubt away, she embraced it. You're a part of me, she whispered to the shadowy tendrils. But you don't define me. The shadows recoiled, and the whispering star began to glow faintly. Inspired by Lyra's courage, Kael lowered his weapon and added his light to hers. Together, they pushed back the void, their combined energy illuminating the star until it burned brighter than ever before. Part 6: Restoring the Balance. With the whispering star restored, the void retreated. Its grip on the universe weakened. Lyra and Kael stood in silence, watching as the star cast its guiding light across the celestial expanse once more. Elindra appeared beside them, her expression one of quiet pride. You've done more than restore a star. You've proven that light and shadow can coexist without destroying each other. The balance is safe for now. As a reward for their courage, Elindra granted Lyra and Kael a vision of what their efforts had saved. They saw a galaxy alive with hope, planets thriving, communities united, and lost travelers finding their way home. Kael turned to Lyra with a rare smile. Guess you're not just a girl from a village after all? Lyra laughed, the sound light and free. And you're not just a guy with a sword? Maybe we make a good team after all. Elindra stepped forward, her voice taking on a solemn tone. The journey isn't over. There will always be shadows, but as long as there is light, there is hope. Together, you will guide the stars and their stories forever. Part 7: The Song of the Starborn. Lyra and Kael returned to the Whispering Star, their task seemingly complete. The orb pulsed softly in its chamber, a rhythm that matched Lyra's heartbeat. Yet as she stood there, she sensed a faint tremor in the light, a subtle unease. Elindra, leaning against the chamber wall, raised an eyebrow. You've done well, but the stars don't rest, and neither do the shadows. The void never sleeps. Kael sighed, sheathing his blade. And here I thought we'd earned a little peace. What now? The whispering star shimmered, its voice resonating in their minds. This was but the beginning. The balance of light and dark is delicate, and the scales have only just tipped. Your journey is far from over, Starborn. Lyra clenched her fists, a flicker of determination sparking in her eyes. Then tell us where to go. If there's more to be done, we'll do it. We've come this far, we can't stop now. The star pulsed, and the chamber filled with swirling images of distant planets, ancient ruins, and celestial phenomena. Lyra and Kael exchanged a glance, both realizing the weight of their commitment. The trials ahead will test not just your strength, but your spirit, the star warned. The void grows restless, and its influence will reach places even my light cannot. Elindra smirked. Guess that means no rest for us. Let's see what other legends we can carve into the stars. Part 8: The Call of the Veil. Their next journey led them to a planet hidden behind a cosmic veil, shrouded in perpetual twilight. It was said that the veil was a remnant of the void's first intrusion into the universe, a scar left behind after an ancient battle. Lyra guided their ship through the dense stardust, her connection to the whispering star leading the way. As they descended, They were met with a landscape of jagged cliffs and towering stone structures, their surfaces etched with luminous runes. This is it, Elindra said, her voice uncharacteristically soft. The trials of starlight. Kael rolled his shoulders, his blade at the ready. Trials, huh? Sounds like fun. Elindra shot him a glare. Fun isn't the word I'd use. These trials are said to test every part of you, your courage, your wisdom, and your resolve. Fail, and you'll never leave this place. Lyra stepped forward, her hand brushing against the runes on the nearest pillar. The stone glowed in response, and a deep hum filled the air. Only those with light unyielding can pass, a disembodied voice echoed. Will you face the trials, knowing the shadows will reveal your deepest truths? Without hesitation, Lyra nodded. We will. The ground beneath them shifted, and the air grew heavy with anticipation. The first trial had begun. Part 9, Facing the Shadows. The first trial plunged them into darkness save for faint pinpricks of light in the distance. The air was cold and the silence was deafening. Then, one by one, shadowy figures emerged, their forms twisting and writhing. Kyle gripped his blade tighter. What are these things? Lyra's eyes narrowed as one of the figures took on the shape of her younger self, standing amidst the ruins of her village. The shadow whispered her fears back to her, each word cutting deep. You couldn't save them, it hissed. You weren't strong enough. Kyle, too, faced his own torment. Shadows of fallen comrades circled him, their accusing eyes staring into his soul. You failed us, they intoned in unison. Elindra called out from somewhere in the void. They're not real. They're just shadows of your mind. Lyra steadied her breathing, focusing on the faint light ahead. She stepped forward, her voice firm. You're right, I was afraid. I made mistakes, but I'm not that person anymore. As she spoke, the shadow dissolved, and a path of light opened before her. She turned to see Kael still frozen, his grip on his blade unsteady. Kael, she called, her voice cutting through the darkness. The past doesn't define you. Keep moving. Kael hesitated, then took a shaky step forward. The shadows faded and the air grew lighter. Part 10. The Pillars of Wisdom. The second trial brought them to a vast chamber, filled with towering pillars, each engraved with riddles and inscriptions. At the center stood a pedestal with a glowing orb. Solve the riddles, the voice commanded. Only then will the path reveal itself. Kael groaned. Great puzzles, my favorite. Lyra approached the nearest pillar, her fingers tracing the runes. The riddle read, I am not alive, yet I grow. I do not breathe, yet I am made of air. What am I? Elindra smirked. That's an easy one. Fire. The pillar glowed, and part of the path ahead lit up. They moved from pillar to pillar, solving riddles that tested their knowledge of the universe and their understanding of the light and dark. Each solved riddle brought them closer to the orb, but the final challenge required them to place their hands on the pedestal together. Only by uniting your light can the path forward be revealed, the voice said. They hesitated for a moment, then placed their hands on the pedestal. The chamber shook, and a beam of light shot upward, piercing the veil above. Part 11:11. The light beyond. As the veil lifted, the planet transformed. The once desolate landscape bloomed with life, and the runes on the structures shone brightly. The whispering star's voice echoed once more. You have proven yourselves, Starborn. The path ahead is yours to choose. Will you continue to fight for the light? Lyra looked at Kyle and Elindra, a determined smile on her face. We will. Always.